California. Good, better and better news all the time. The other thing that happened this weekend, and maybe Rich will give you a chance to cue up the video, we'll move on to the People's Summit, which of course was not covered at all by the mainstream media. And if you get a chance to watch all of the complete videos from the 3-day event, it basically was a gathering of Bernie Sanders supporters. It was a convention before the convention of a certain, I'm going to say a certain group, certain groups of Bernie Sanders supporters. Now it was organized by Nurses United. It's not in front of me right here. I'm sure I'm stumbling on that. But it was organized by the nurses. Everybody was talking about the nurses, basically for everybody who support Bernie Sanders and his agenda to get together and commiserate and talk about really what to do, what's next. That was the theme. What's next? What do we do? What do we do with this revolution? And so we can just maybe show the video. It's a short video that sums up what I saw at the People's Summit and what they were trying to do.
Absolutely, and we are ready to go. So yeah, this great highlights. I got a chance to watch some of them, so some great highlights from the People's Summit. So here we go.
Brothers and sisters, 5 years ago, I wrote a book about socialism in America. And the fact of the matter is, people said to me at that time, "Are you sure you want to write about socialism? Are you sure you want your name associated with the S word?" Well, brothers and sisters, this year, millions of Americans have associated their name with the S word in states across this country, and they have embraced a social democratic socialist vision of our future.
This is a pivotal time in our nation's history, and we don't have time, if I can use the technical term, the okie doke. So when we look at income and wealth inequality in this country, and we heard our senator talk about that all across this country, do you know that we have been dealing with candidates for far too long who wouldn't even say the word poor, who won't say the word poverty? Well, how many of us know that we do have poor sisters and brothers in this country who are trying their very best to make it into the middle class, and we have middle class sisters and brothers in this country who are trying to hold on. There are about 100 million people in this nation. About half of them live in poverty, and the other half, they're on the brink of poverty. That we need folks elected to office who actually give a shit about the people that they represent.
I came to this political revolution, and I stand here today unapologetically Muslim, unapologetically Palestinian, and unapologetically from Brooklyn, New York. This political revolution was here before Bernie Sanders got here, and it's going to live beyond Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders came to show us what our potential was. And our potential is great, sisters and brothers, if we continue to unite and work together.
In the Democratic primary this spring, one of our major campaigns, in addition to Bernie, was Kim Foxx, very progressive state's attorney, and she's going to be replacing Anita Alvarez, who was responsible for the cover-up of Laquan McDonald's shooting by a police officer. We organized around the election in a way that allowed us to not just get yeses, like on a list, but to recruit new members, to build the organization, to build up new leaders. So this is a new way of doing electoral organizing. It's not the usual way of doing electoral organizing. If you're going to spend the next 5 months signing up to volunteer for the Clinton campaign and doing phone banking for her, you're not building anything. You're not building your organization. You're not building this movement, which means that's 5 months of wasted time.
This political revolution has begun and will never be stopped. We have to be able to say that my children's dreams are no threat to yours, that we all do better when we all do better, and that today, this generation, the most diverse generation in American history, the Bernie generation of revolutionaries, are going to be the ones to finally create a demos in this country, one people united by a shared fate. Thank you.
And that's the end of the video. As we're still working on getting to where we can, so everyone can hear. But there's some great stuff in there. I love Nita Turner in there. And
yeah, it was. Yeah, you can't. I knew you'd love that. I put that in there for you. No, but no, there was a real hit parade. Rosario Dawson, Tulsi Gabbard, of course John Nichols, Naomi Klein. It was a progressive, top of the list, cream of the crop. Except like Jill Stein was not allowed to join in. So it was basically the idea. It seemed like a lot of folks were like, hey, well, we got to go with Hillary. But as you saw from the video, there was a lot of conversation about the down ballot races and moving forward with the revolution. Now that he motivated us, and we need to keep going. Just to clear a couple, it was Roseanne DeMoro, executive director of National Nurses United, who basically organized this. And a couple of things that came out of it that I noticed is she's in the inner circle, and she seems positive that no lists are going anywhere outside of this campaign. So let's see that's actually the case. And the other thing that came out that I found very interesting is Winnie Wong of People for Bernie Sanders basically reported that there's over 130 million people connected through social network for Bernie Sanders. So they've got quite a list of people to work with, and so I recommend going and finding clips from the event, watching the event on YouTube, and seeing the whole thing. It was great to see the young leaders and that are part of this Bernie's revolution. And one of the young leaders that has come onto my radar is a young man in Ireland. Sorry, in Ireland. England's on my mind because of Brexit, but in Ireland, by the name of Adam Wells, who reached out to me. He's 16 years old, and he's a journalist. He's one of the new generation, the generation that supports Bernie Sanders. We know by a 2-to-1 margin. He is an amazing young man who has created a website called The Progressive Brief. It's a new site. He had a site previously to that, and you can watch his whole interview on fieldofburn.tv. But I pulled together a couple of minutes of Adam in the discussion that we had. We talked about Bernie or bust and what our way forward is now that Bernie Sanders is, probably not going to win the nomination. And how do we move forward, and what it means for his generation and this generation and the revolution in general. So, Richard, if you're able to find that vid,
we are good to go. So I will just go ahead and go right into it.
Great. This is Adam Wells, The Progressive Brief.
I really understand the sentiment which Bernie or bust encapsulates, but the way I personally would view it is that when I look at Pete Mundy in Ohio, when I look at Alex Law, who ran in New Jersey, Lucy Flores in Nevada, Zephyr Teachout, who's running in New York, as is Eric Kingston, and all these progressives standing up as a result of Bernie's revolution, running for office on both a federal level and also state level, and that's really inspiring to me. One point I would make is that when the most common description of these individuals is not Sanders Greens or Sanders Progressives, it's actually Sanders Democrats, and I think that is telling in itself that is the word that we used to describe these people. So far during this campaign, the commonly accepted truth would be that the best way for the progressive revolution to actually successfully garner a lot of influence in the houses, in the House and in the Senate, is actually through the Democratic Party. And I would probably personally ascribe to that myself, but that doesn't necessarily manifest itself in supporting Hillary Clinton specifically. Personally, what I find extremely important is prioritizing the continuation of the political revolution, because the revolution by its nature is decentralized. It doesn't have much centralized leadership, and so if we allow ourselves to become so fixated with the whole Bernie Sanders presidential campaign, it might lead us to take our eye off the ball regarding electing candidates running for the House and running for the Senate, running for state. So when someone is going to vote for Bernie Sanders, they're voting for the policies associated with Bernie Sanders and his extremely policy-orientated campaign. I wrote an article personally just last week on how the main division between the demographic support for Hillary Clinton and that of Bernie Sanders is not race, it's not gender, which is the common misconception.
Right.
It's actually age.
Yeah.
It's not just my personal opinion. Analyst after analyst has said that the Bernie Sanders of 2020 or the Bernie Sanders of 2024 is very likely to win because the policies of his campaign are going to live on, and as people become older, they are more likely to vote. Subsequently, more younger Bernie Sanders supporters are going to be older and therefore more likely to vote.
I was very impressed. I mean, this is the generation, folks. This is it. This is their revolution. This is your guys' revolution. And these, like he was said at the end, you know, it's true. The first-time voters, young voters, don't tend to vote. But as they get older, this generation is going to put, you know, the people that follow these, that want these policies in place, who are the vast majority of the population, and definitely the younger generations, the millennials and beyond, are going to do it. So at 18, 24, this is when we're going to see probably the revolution. You know, FDR didn't get elected until Eugene Debs lost half a dozen times. And John Nichols made a point of that at the People's Summit, that losing isn't necessarily losing. It actually can end up be winning. And FDR, you know, it took another 12 years before he got elected. But Bernie has laid the groundwork for this revolution. He sort of just said, hey, look at you guys. These issues are important. I've been fighting for. And they're like, yeah, you're right. How do we take care of this? And he's like, here, I throw you the ball. Now what are you going to do? So the People's Summit, that sort of, you know, it gave me hope. There's a lot of energy, a lot of people working towards in the right direction. There's young men like Adam Hall. I'm sorry, I think I butchered his name earlier. I've been having trouble with names this week. But Adam Hall, this young man in Ireland, all over the world, this generation is going to take the lead and hopefully solve this problem of guns and beyond. Very good. Well, let me just round up, Richard, by saying Adam is dying to come on Project Sanity and contribute. He's ready, as you can see. He knows his stuff around a computer, and he's a smart young man that I think would add to the conversation. So keep that in mind, as well as you know, the burn continues here in California. I'll be broadcasting this week on Sunday at 11 a.m. from the Still Sanders March in Los Angeles, which hopefully will be a large turnout on Sunday. So you can check that out. And I look forward to joining in on the gun conversation a little bit later. No worries. All good. It's great. FeelTheBurn.tv is the YouTube channel. I'm on Twitter and Facebook at FeelTheBurnTV. Follow me there. And subscribe and make sure you get notifications on YouTube. And then whenever I go live, it'll let you know, which I've been doing more and more lately. So subscribe and follow me on Twitter. That's the best way. And, of course, on Project Sanity here on Thursdays. Absolutely. Look forward to listening in and maybe jumping in.